The Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live. We are streaming live on YouTube. And, of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Boom! Oh, we have a good one lined up for you, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to recap the Cowboys-Rams preseason game. And if you're wondering who we is, myself and the one and only Bryan, Broaddus of DallasCowboys.com and 105.3 The Fan. And we got our guy on the horn as we speak. Good morning, B.
Hey, Will, how you doing? Good to, not good to be with you, great to be with you. I've missed working with you and excited to get this opportunity today.
I am more than excited to have you back. You are more than a friend of the program. Since I started this thing, you've been here pretty much every year, multiple times. So, like I said, excited to have you back. Excited to talk some ball with you. And as a scout, you know, preseason has to feel like Christmas to you guys, man. Getting a chance to see your young bucks out there live in action, huh?
Yeah, you know, it is, especially with what we're doing right now with, you know, I've been out here the whole time, and really thanks to DallasCowboys.com and thanks to really 105.3 The Fan and what they've been able to do for me to allow me to be out here the whole time. That's something that, you know, in the past I haven't been able to do that since, you know, I moved over to 105.3, and you just learn so much being here. And, you know, the practices and then, you know, being around the coaches, being around the players. It's just a great opportunity to learn about the team, and you know, as they put it together, and you see the practices, and then you see the games. You kind of tie everything together,
Yep.
and I think that you just benefit from that so much.
That's very interesting that you bring that up first, because you know, I view preseason as a land of opportunity, B, for a lot of these unproven young players. And yesterday there was a lot of that, you know, on the line for these guys to make some noise. But I don't think there was a player that had more eyeballs on them, that had more to gain or lose than one Trey Lance. And you and I briefly talked about this yesterday. We chatted during the game. It seemed like we were talking about this red zone stuff. It seemed like as the game went on, camp, right, what you saw in camp, his performance there kind of carried over into the preseason game, good or bad. What were some of those things that stood out to you in camp that carried over in yesterday's game?
Yeah, well, initially Trey Lance wasn't a good quarterback. And I mean initially when camp started in the practices, and I mean in a good quarterback in a way where you would say, okay, here's a good throw to the outside. Okay, here he's reading this. Here he's seeing that. Okay, mobility, slide. Okay, now he's finding receivers. Okay, that's a good play fake there. Oh man, the cadence sounds good. Oh, he's drawing people off sides. You know, these are the kinds of things that you always look for in quarterbacks. And with Trey, it seemed very much that there was probably a lot of nerves involved. And you mentioned it. There are a lot of eyeballs on him, you know, on a daily basis. And, you know, every throw was charted. You know, I mean, every time he did something, it was mentioned in the media because of the questions that people had. You know, we hadn't seen really Trey Lance do anything. He was traded for. There were questions about, you know, who all knew about the trade. But everybody talks about Trey Lance in the glowing terms. I have friends in San Francisco that are telling me, hey, listen, hardworking kid, you know, unfortunately the injuries caught up with him, and Brock Purdy came in and kind of took things over, and that's where we went. And so you understand all that. But when you watch Trey Lance practice initially, there was a lot of check downs. There were a lot of indecisions. There were a lot of holding the football. But as the practices wore on, he became more comfortable. He got better. The touch was better. Now, yesterday, you saw example, the pass that he threw in the red zone on fourth down was a pass that they've thrown quite a bit in the tight red zone. Cooper Rush has thrown that pass, Dak's thrown that pass, and Trey Lance has thrown that pass. It's unfortunate that there was just too much on it, but there have been some passes where Trey Lance has shown some touch. Now, the problem with Trey Lance is he will make his receivers work for the ball.
Yeah.
We saw that quite a bit. The crossing routes, there were some times where Trey Lance had opportunities to hit guys on the move, but we didn't see much run after catch because the receivers were having to contort for the football and find the ball and then make sure they secured the catch. But I think overall he started poorly. He's rallied to the point of like, okay, that's, we can work with that. And then you did see some things yesterday. The mobility part of him, there's times where, he does have the ability to get the ball out of his hands and it gets downfield and, receivers can make plays. He's just not very consistent right now. And I think that was something that Mike McCarthy, he told Brad Sham that in our, on the pregame show that, hey, he's looking for consistency with Trey Lance. And I think we're all looking for that as well. I'm really happy that he got to play the majority of the game. I think it gives you a little bit of an idea what you need to work with and what you're working with. These are what these preseason games are for. Unfortunately, the Rams, their guy was horrible, and they find a way to win the game. So that's, even though it's preseason, I was on with Sean and RJ on 105.3 this morning just before I came on with you, and I was like, they're like, how do you feel about preseason? I go, I hate losing any time they keep score. I hate that. I hate losing. I think winning is a good thing. And, some of these coaches, they don't try and win, but anyway, we'll talk about that another day. But good start for Trey Lance in a way of you at least have an idea of what you can work with now.
Yeah, one thing, and maybe you can correct me here on this, but I always felt like preseason for Trey Lance was going to be a better environment for him. I feel like the training camp setting would be tougher on him because one, he's going up against Mike Zimmer. He's sometimes going up against some of those high quality talent guys, Micah Parsons if he's in there or something like that. And Mike is going to make these quarterbacks think, and that's not really Trey's game right now. Whereas preseason, he can fully put on display his athletic ability, and you saw that, right? You saw him run around. He had like 40-some rushing yards. You saw him make some throws outside of the pocket. I wonder if they go back and they look at that and say, well, let's lean into that a little bit early on to get him going. Because I remember you said this about Dak a little bit ago, maybe last year. Sometimes when Dak gets hit, when he runs around a little bit early, it gets him involved in the game. I just happened to start thinking about it during the game yesterday. Maybe they should let Trey run around early and get him in a rhythm, because it's going to be imperative to show this staff that he can, drop back and get in a rhythm. Because if not, I don't know how he can fit in this kind of Texas Coast scheme.
Yeah, I think with Trey, and you're absolutely right about my assessment of Dak. I always felt like when Dak got a little bloodied and muddied, he would get a flow of the game, and that's when he was really at his absolute best. And with Trey, I think Trey is one of those guys that, they're trying to find confidence. Everybody kind of harkens back to Trey not playing a lot of football, and, that's fair. As a quarterback, that's fair. I evaluated a lot of quarterbacks that haven't played a lot of football, and it does take some time. And I know, Cowboy Nation out there is like, hey, we don't have time, Bryan. We've got all these quarterbacks are out of contracts, and you got to learn and you got to figure it out. And if they let Dak walk, is this going to be your guy? And, those kinds of things. So, but as far as they look at it, they're like, hey, we've got to kind of bring him along. And you're right. The stuff that he does on the move, I think is pretty impressive. His ability to escape, to buy time to it's clear that the RPO stuff, it could be really, really good with him. I mean, he's just got a kind of a feel for how to play, kind of a slippery player that way. But him throwing from the pocket is something you kind of need to learn about as well. And like I say, these practices here, and he's getting a lot of work, but these games are even better for him as well.
If Trey Lance, Bryan, was number one on everybody's watch list, then Mazi Smith was not far behind, right? And he had 20 snaps yesterday, 3 tackles. And I know the film hasn't quite gotten around everywhere just yet, but kind of just your initial takeaway from Mazi Smith's performance yesterday.
Yeah, you're right about that film getting around. I'm out here. I got up at 5 this morning thinking I was going to get it in my film box, and it hasn't shown up yet. So my apologies to your fine listeners who expect me, but hopefully I'll be back with you and we can talk about some other things another day.
Thanks.
But yeah, it's the thing with Mazi, and there was some time, and I was during the Rams practice on Thursday, I was over with Kyle Yeomans, and we were watching the offensive linemen, and so I started seeing some clips. I was on with Vach, and Vach played me some clips of Mazi, and went in some one-on-one pass rush stuff, and it just made you think that, like, okay, this guy's a very capable player, and that's the thing that they need him to be is, there's some people that have issues with, when myself or a guy like Brad Sham says, hey, we need Mazi to be good, not great. We need him to be good. And then there's people that take offense to that. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute now. He was drafted in the first round. We need him to be great. We need him to be great. And, to me with Mazi, I saw some productive stuff on Thursday. We saw the clips and, got to sit down and study it a little more afterwards. And, Mazi was, he was playing square. He was playing with some physicality. He was playing, with some extension. He's playing with some power. He was, he's getting off the football. The problem that Mazi has, and I've said this on several platforms, and, you see it at times, is that the longer he plays, the harder it is for him. You need him to play really, really hard for 4 plays, and and then they'll kind of figure some things out. Mazi will play hard for 1 play, maybe 2 plays, and then the other plays he kind of disappears. His stance becomes poor. He gets tired. He doesn't use his hands. He doesn't get off the ball. But yesterday it appeared to me he didn't have any run stuffs. But what I was watching for yesterday was how square is he going to play?
Yep.
How square. If you're watching the TV copy of the game and you're consistently seeing the 5 and the 8 on his jersey, that tells you right there that he's not playing square. That he's getting turned, he's getting washed, he's getting moved out of the hole. And that really wasn't all the case yesterday with Mazi. I thought Rodgers played really well with the defensive tackles. As far as he had a pressure. He had a run stuff. The run opportunities the defense he got was pretty good. Carl Davis, I think, showed up a couple of different times. That group, it's not going to be statistics. It's going to be how square are you, how well do you take on blocks, and are you making the back have to choose another hole? Because if they're running the ball downhill at you and all of a sudden they're attacking the middle of the defense, then you're kind of like, okay, well, these linebackers, I mean, the Cowboys linebackers are better. They are a much better group, and they can tackle. This group can tackle. But you don't want to, like I say, if you can make these backs have to start, stop, and then start again, that gives these linebackers a chance to step up and make plays. It's when that ball's coming downhill, and like I say, you see the 5 and the 8 of Mazi's jersey because he's got turned or moved out of the hole. Well, then that's a problem for your run defense.
One of those things about Mazi I had questioning coming in is how well will he take to the coaching of Jeff Skanina? Because Skanina is a hard ass, right? Like he's not going to take it easy on you. And we saw that video of him calling him Mickey Mouse or going to Disneyland. But what I took away from it was he said, get your hands inside, obviously extend on the sled and then obviously disengage or get your hands up to block the pass. You actually saw him do that on that screenplay. That was one of his more productive
sure did.
Reps right there.
Sure was. Yeah, it was, and you're absolutely right, Will. And myself and Jeff Kavanaugh, we were kind of hanging out. They let us watch practice from this platform, and the platform happens to be in the end zone where the defensive line works out. And so every day you start down in the platform and you're watching, and Jeff Sagina is a hard coaching dude. He really, really is. He's got no time for guys that play with poor technique or don't, or not coachable. And, you could see that, he was, always with Mazi. It's hands up, Mazi, hands up, not outside, up, and so, he's coaching him hard, but it's not in a way of belittling or degrading Mazi. I mean, he's coaching him like, come on, man, you can do this. And Mazi, there's times where he does what he's asked to do, and then other times, he gets tired, and that's where you start to talk about the mental toughness there. Where's the mental toughness? Can you take the hard coaching? Can you do what the coach asks you to do? There's times where Jeff Sagina, where he praises Mazi. There you go. That's it. There you go. That's way to go. That's, and, Mazi tends to kind of, when things are going good, he tends to thrive in those situations. And when things are going bad, you could see the body language, you could see the stance, you could see all the problems that they have right there with their team.
Yeah, we're just going to need these, defensive tackles to basically do their jobs, because as you talked about, this linebacker room, I just think it's more athletic, it's more instinctual, it's more downhill, and you saw all of that with DeMarvion Overshown yesterday, who returned from his ACL injury. And I swear, you could take his tape from last year, put it over this tape, and it looks like nothing. It does not look like he had an ACL injury, Bryan. And maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but kind of what was your initial takeaway from Demo, who was all over the place?
Yeah, that's the thing, and you mentioned this linebacker room. They misevaluated the room last year. Overshown getting hurt really did hurt the unit, because he was out, and he was a kid that was, you watch him and he plays 6 plays and he's got 3 tackles.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's no longer in the lineup. And then, Leighton Vander Esch, who, Leighton Vander Esch had that career much like Sean Lee, productive, went on field, and then a lot of times dealing with injuries. And so all of a sudden it was, okay, we don't have enough linebackers. We didn't really address the position all that well, during training camp, and, trying to bring guys in and get guys ready to play. Damone Clark wasn't ready to play. I mean, even though, Damone Clark needs people around him to kind of help him along, and, but this room is so much better. And then if you look at Overshown, I remember being out at the OTAs practice, the minicamp practices there at the Star, and I literally was watching Britt Brown, the associate athletic trainer who's in charge of rehabilitation, work with Overshown. And I just was amazed of how big he looked, how much weight he looked like he put on, a good weight in that, and how he was able to, to move around the way he was. And so, that was a real positive for me, because, let's be honest, and, Cowboy Nation knows this, your listeners know this, these knee injuries, these guys coming back, it's, whether it's Steele, it took some time, Pollard took some time, Gallup really never came back, so we've seen these knee injuries, and that's the hope with Overshown, that's the hope with Diggs, that these guys can find a way to kind of get this thing, back together and play at a high level like they were before they got hurt. But Overshown has looked, he's looked really good. They're putting him in situations where, they're giving him work, but they're kind of bringing him along in a way also that you're like, they're protecting him. They really haven't cut him loose yet, but him getting some opportunity yesterday was a good sign.
Absolutely. You talk about those ACL injuries. Another guy that I thought looked pretty good coming off his ACL was John Stevens Jr. Didn't have a whole lot of receptions, but 3 receptions, I believe it was, 19 yards. But again, I mean, you've seen him out there at camp. Maybe you can confirm this, but it looked like he's ramping up. It looks like he's not really thinking too much. And I know at tight end, it's a lot more cutting you got to deal with, so that could be more difficult to come back from. But I don't know. He seemed confident yesterday, and was a little scared when he went up for that ball that Lance threw out of bounds, and he kind of was a little jittery getting up, but he seemed to check out pretty fine.
Yeah, he did, and he's matter of fact. I was talking with, I think it was Todd Archer or John Machota on the field, and we were talking about Stevens, and yeah, there's been some positive things. I mean, this time last year, he really took camp over. Really took camp over, and so now you're kind of like, okay, he's doing a nice job. You can see the routes, the cutting. We'll check out the film for the blocking stuff when he's got an opportunity, but he's just such an athletic target, and his ability to run upfield, to sink, to bend, and then to, get out of his breaks. He presents himself now. He's had some situations in some of these practices where he's dropped some balls, and I think it was more a concentration thing than it was more the physical issue. But, yesterday he was able to go 2 for 2 on the targets, as you mentioned, and the receptions for 19 yards, like you said. And, it was good to see him have that little bit of success. But he, as you mentioned, the right word for him is ramping up, because he is getting more and more opportunity to do things.
So the rookies, to me, coming into this game, we were talking about Kalen Carson, talking about what we see from Maris Leofau, but it was chalk, in my opinion. Your first and second round picks, Tyler Guyton, Marshawn Nealon, Bryan, those guys look like they're ready to compete down in, down out. Right off the bat, Marshawn Nealon, he just looks like a 94 in the Dallas Cowboys. He looks perfect for that position and this team and that number, the blue jerseys, crashing down the line of scrimmage, containing the edge, the strength. I'm ready to see this guy roll with those Sam Williams snaps, because he's going to get them. And I feel real good about what he could do in this Zimmer scheme. Yeah,
I think you've really hit the nail on the head with him, and I've admitted this on a lot of different platforms. I had my concerns about him as a pass rusher, just because at Western Michigan I didn't know how much bend he really had. I saw a very powerful guy. I saw a really good run defender. Yeah, and so when you start to talk about players like that, you're like, okay, is this guy going to be a just rush right in the middle of tackles, and he's going to try and overpower people, and that's how he's going to, get his rushes? And from whatever he's done, from the time he was selected until yesterday when they had that game against the Rams, he's made himself a better football player. And obviously that time has been spent working on his bend, working on his flexibility, working on his speed, working on the get off, all these things. Sam Williams was a good rusher. Sam Williams was a okay run defender. I think you've got the potential to have a really good run defender in Nealon and a really good pass rush. I think this could be one of those combinations of players. I know there's been a while here that they've tried to kind of find that player like what you have with Tank Lawrence, that ability to rush the passer, but also play, really good run defense. And Nealon has got that kind of ability, and it would not surprise me one bit that if, when we line up against the Cleveland Browns on opening day, that he's the starter at right end.
Yep, him starting or him getting 70-75% of the snaps with Micah just roaming around, I think seems to be the plan. The only thing I'll keep my eye on moving forward is, this rookie wasn't expected to play as much as a Sam Williams. Now he is. So will we see kind of that rookie wall, and will that affect the Cowboys because the depth took a hit?
Yeah, and you're right about that. That's, they have to figure some things out. And these rookies, and you mentioned it, and the really good example here recently was with Oso Digizua. And I know he's, it's been several years, but, that was, he plays really, really hard for about 13 weeks, 14 weeks. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, it's like the college season, like he's a college player. The bowl game hits and he's done, kind of a deal. So, hopefully, man, this kid is in really good condition. He never stops moving. I thought, man, this guy's just going to be a power player. He's just not. He's got more to his game. and hopefully that, he doesn't get completely wore down, because they're going to have to use him quite a bit, until they figure out what's going on, behind him at that right end spot.
Another rookie, like I said, I think this was chalk for me, that stood out and showed some improvements, immediately, was Tyler Guyton. Now, before we break his situation down, there was a situation prior to that with Chuma Edoga, who is now in a walking boot, who started the game off with, I think, Austin Richards. I'm not sure if you've heard anything, the updated status on Chuma, but it doesn't sound too good if he's in a walking boot right now.
No, and I need to check this again. When I was walking, when I went from the tent to back here to my room to do the show with you, he was, the trainers and those guys were, I saw the equipment guys, they were all kind of, they had a late night unpacking stuff. So I'm sure this morning we'll get an update on, there's no practice today. It's a player day off. So I always tend to kind of bump into people along the way, and I'll figure that out. But I believe they were talking about a toe injury here, and Chuma has been dealing with a lot of different things here since training camp started. He had low back tightness and our problem, and then it became spasms, and now he's dealing with the foot. So this just is one of those things. Yeah, you hate it. You hate for how it happened, because I'm going to say this: Chuma Edoga has had some decent practices. He hasn't been as bad as maybe we're like, okay, but they did draft Guyton for a reason. And Guyton got set back last week dealing with the chest cold. Almost like a form of pneumonia, is Jerry Jones is talking about. And so, he was dealing with that. And, for him to play the 12 snaps, I know he had, the 12 snaps that he had pass blocking reps in, they were talking about no pressures, no sacks, and 75% of the time he was dealing with those blocks one-on-one, and he handled all that pretty well. And then you watch him come off the ball, man, I mean, there were a couple of times where he, flat back, hands inside, getting movement. He's really good athletically at walling people off. He could kind of snatch you, when he gets out on the edge. And so, there's a lot of positive things. I'm sure when they watch the tape, they'll have seen, wow, look at the set, look at the movement, look at the, a lot of things that, if he was healthy all last week, you would have probably seen him play a lot more snaps. But now that Edoga is going to be sidelined, I think for a little bit, I don't see Edoga really hustling to get back, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. My opinion only. But this is where Tyler Guyton can take over the role as like, okay, I'm LOT1, and here we go.
There were two plays yesterday, and I can't wait to kind of point them out via the film, that just stood out to me for Guyton. And it were both, one was a pass, one was a run play. The Trey Lance scramble, you just saw the athleticism, the quick feet, where Tyler Guyton sets outside, I think it was 51, tries to beat him inside, and he just, boom, he beats him and he mirrors him perfectly. The things that you saw in college, right, at Oklahoma. But the more impressive rep was, I think it was a run play. And one of the things I questioned about Guyton was his ability to drive guys constantly. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why it didn't happen as much at Oklahoma, but I thought coming in this room with Tyler Smith, Zach Martin, Terrence Steele, that would improve, because they'll make him improve it. And he just took whoever that was at defensive end on a ride about 5 yards back. And in my head, I'm like, that right there, Tyler, if you can do that constantly, that left side will be 10 times better, with all due respect to Tyron Smith, in the run game than it was with Tyron, because I thought that's the part of Tyron's game that dropped off tremendously because of his injuries, was his ability to kind of just drive guys constantly and get out to that second level and wall guys off. And Guyton looked pretty good in a few reps. He did it.
Yeah, the guy you're talking about is that Van Valkenburg.
Yes.
And that guy, 51, and Van Valkenburg is the guy that's high effort, high motor kind of a player. I mean, it just never stops. And so, he's going to chase, he's going to run down plays, he's going to give you a pass rush. And, Yeah, and Guyton did a really good job. I mean, Van Valkenburg didn't really have he couldn't extend on him. And once that Guyton got his hands inside and just started pushing, this guy had no shot. He really didn't have a shot to be able to get off the block. And that part of it was really, really impressive. And they'll continue to work with him on, his pad level. He hasn't played much with his hand down. Everything has been kind of, at Oklahoma, he was a 2-point stance guy. There was a ton of passing.
Yep.
So his run blocking and stuff, I think, will only get better. But the athletic ability and the strength, I think there were some questions about him as a run blocker, and there were some questions about his strength. But man, I mean, in practice, he's thumped. He's thumped Tank pretty good. He's thumped Nealon pretty good, and he's thumped Parsons pretty good. So it's not like he's playing against poor
Scrubs.
Defenders. He's working it. Yeah, the one thing they'll do here at practice is they'll go ones versus ones, and the times he's out there practicing, he's seen his share of good players.
The other rookie that was probably most anticipated to see in this game was Cooper Beebe. And he had some snaps at center, and he did some snaps on the interior at both guard spots, I believe. Yeah. Now, again, I've went back and I've watched just kind of the broadcast view of it, and I didn't see any errant snaps from Cooper Beebe. I did see one snap. I think gave up a pressure, trying to be a help guy. Nobody was lined up over him. The Rams, I don't know if they did a stun or whatnot. And he did give up a pressure, but that was about it. Seemed like it was a clean game for Cooper Beebe, and I thought, Bryan, he needed that to push for that center job if he wanted it, because right now it feels like Solari is definitely leaning heavily, and not just Solari, Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy are leaning heavily into Brock Hoffman.
Yeah, Will, to be honest with you, I think that Hoffman's going to get the start.
I do too.
It's not just what Beebe did yesterday, because I think he got 39 snaps. Yeah, I think there was a couple of pressures, and then they gave him a sack. So, that I need to go back and check that. But that's what the metrics said. And so, with all that being said, though, Brock Hoffman, I just remember, when we were working on the draft, and we were all of us were working on the draft. You were working on it. Voch was working on DallasCowboys.com with the draft show. We were all working on the draft. And, we were sitting there and, we were talking about, BB, plug and play, BB, and really what I can say for myself, the learning curve, and I should have known this from my own experience of playing tackle and then being moved to center. It's a lot different. It's different from, the steps you take, the snap, they attack your offhand. I'm just trying to say the learning curve on it was pretty steep. And, the learning curve for him to, go from not playing center a lot to having to play center every snap now. And then, like you say, he's getting some work at guard. But that work he's getting at center has been invaluable for him. I mean, it's been huge. But the thing about it is, we go back to the draft as we're working on it. Mike Solari kept reminding us.
He did.
Well, there's this Brock Hoffman. Well, hey, we want to talk about Beebe. Well, there's this Brock Hoffman. No, Coach, we want to talk about Beebe. No, Brock Hoffman. You got the vibe that they really, really, really liked Brock Hoffman. And I almost think it's in the mold of how Joe Philbin liked Terrence Steele. First in, last out, attentive in the meeting, ask questions, good in the weight room, good teammate. All these things about Brock Hoffman. They were excited about Cooper Beebe, but the line coach was more excited about Brock Hoffman, and so it doesn't surprise me. Okay, I shouldn't say that. It surprises me of how steep the learning curve has been for Beebe, which he's gotten better at. But Hoffman has not played poorly. No. Now, people will go, well, hey, Broaddus, what's the difference between, say, Broaddus and Brock Hoffman? I think Brock Hoffman plays with more power. I think he's a stronger guy, where Broaddus has the advantage of second-level blocks. I think Broaddus was a more athletic guy, whereas Hoffman has athletic ability, but he doesn't have the now he could second level, because in the Rams scrimmage on Thursday, him and BB both were getting second level blocks. Now maybe that says something about what the Rams. I know JB Long is the Rams play-by-play guy, and we had him on the interview for the pregame show yesterday. And I asked JB, I go, JB, how good is your run defense? You know, I mean, because I was trying to get a gauge from Thursday, because the Cowboys, you know, everybody saw the clips, you know, the Cowboys running the football and having success. And, you know, it was Brock Hoffman. It was you know, it was Tyler Smith. It was all, you know, all these guys having success. And so JB's like, yeah, they're trying to get better, probably a little bit mid-pack. You know, we lost Aaron Donald. We're trying to replace this, that, and the other. You know, he didn't sound like that it was something that was like, you know, the world beaters or anything like that. He sounded like that it was probably a little bit of a work in progress. So, again, I was trying to get an idea of, you know, how good they were. But, you know, here's Hoffman and BB both, you know, they're getting second level, and they're overshooting linebackers and having to adjust back to get, you know, get blocks, but they're able to do it. So they've had more difficulty running the ball on their own defense than they did with what they were doing against the Rams. Because there was like Dowdle hit the, you know, the Dowdle practice on Thursday was really good. And then him running the football yesterday was pretty good, the opportunities he got.
Yeah, I was just about to say Dowdle looked great,
Yeah, so to me, I think Dowdle's the best back they've got here. Me personally, if you said, hey, okay, start the best back, I'm going to start Dowdle is what I'm going to do. You know, no offense to Zeke, but Dowdle is more explosive. He hits the hole quicker. He's more elusive. You know, there's a lot to really, really like. The only problem we always have with Rico Dowdle is, and people get tired of me saying this, is how healthy he is. You know, can he play 17 games? That's going to be the question.
Yeah, and it wasn't much behind him, though. Yesterday, you know, Malik Davis, Snoop, Nathaniel Pete, they all got involved in the run game, but the blocking wasn't great. Those guys really weren't making guys miss. It still makes me wonder if there's a player out there the Cowboys will be interested in bringing in, because Rico's health situation right now, Royce Freeman is dealing with a health situation, and we know Royce, Rico, and Zeke, you know, they like those guys. They want those guys to be on this team, but at some point, reality has to set in, B, that you're talking about a back that has over 2,500 touches, maybe. I'm not sure. That could be a higher number, but over 2,000 touches in Ezekiel Elliott. You have a back who gets hurt a lot in Rico, and you got a RB2B, RB3 type in Royce Freeman that I don't know that you can count on either at this point. So I do wonder if the rumors about Cooks and others are Cook, I should say, and others are true Miles Sanders, because they just didn't have enough pop in that room outside of Rico yesterday.
Yeah, and you know they keep talking about Mike keeps bringing up Malik Davis, and so it makes you wonder if right now that they're thinking about, okay, this is how it's going to go down. It's going to be Zeke, it's going to be Dowdle, it's going to be Davis, and then Hunter Lipke. That, you know, maybe that's the four. You know, it's unfortunate what's happened with Deuce Vaughn, and we've got a couple more weeks here and a couple more preseason games. But, you know, he's missed now the majority of practice out here, and he's missed a game already. And, you know, in in Frisco, they were trying to get him, receiver reps. They were trying to get him in the backfield, kickoff return stuff, you know, all these things. They had all these plans for him. You know, and he hasn't practiced, but they keep pushing. Mike McCarthy keeps pushing Malik Davis. Everybody's talking about, oh, how about Malik? It's almost like the Brock Hoffman deal. You know, it's almost like they're pushing this guy in a way to make us all like, okay, don't forget this guy. You keep talking about others, but don't forget this guy. So a lot of positivity about Malik Davis here with the coaching staff.
Bryan, I'm not sure how long some of our fans have been here, but every time you join the show, I always have to bring this up. and it's your proud Bryan moment from years ago. If you, if you guys don't remember, he had this proud look on Mo Claiborne, who was struggling that week, and he made a play, game-sealing play against the St. Louis Rams at that time, right? And
Sure was, yeah.
You would just look like a happy dad. Like, there you go, Mo. So every time you come, I got to ask you, who or what was your proud Bryant moment or proud Bryant player yesterday in the first week of preseason?
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up, though. That was so funny. I mean, it's a couple things happened there. One, it's like, man, I was so big, and I'm like, gosh, please lose some weight or you're going to not be with us anymore. You know, that kind of, it's such a bad picture. But, and then I always remind people thought it was a proud Bryan moment, but if in reality, what I was thinking was, it's about effing time is what I was thinking. You know, I don't want to cuss on your program here, but that's what I was thinking. I looked at him, and in my mind, I was thinking, it's about effing time. And that became the proud Bryan moment there. But you know what? I think that you have to be I'm really proud of the guys that, and we mentioned them earlier here in our broadcast. I was proud of the guys that are coming back from the surgeries.
Yeah.
You know, I'm proud of the Overshowns. I'm proud of the Stevens, you know, those guys. David Durden had a couple of plays yesterday where he, you know, and he's been practicing really, really well. So from an aspect of like guys that you're kind of like, okay, you don't know how these guys are going to respond, but they're practicing really, really well. I mean, if you want to say just on sheer numbers of how he played, man, when you talk about Marquise Bell, okay, he had a high number of tackles, had 9 tackles. The interceptions, probably could have had 2, had 1.
Yeah.
But the questions, Will, about him were, here's a guy that played dime safety the whole season, was tough, you know, tackled, did everything physical, you know, was way, way out of his league playing down in the box the way he did. The questions were, how well is he going to be able to cover? How well was he going to be able to play at depth, see what's going on, and then make plays? When you watch him at practice, he's a guy that he'll walk down and then he'll blitz. And you're like, okay, that's how you notice him. You know, there's not a lot of time in practice that you really, really, really notice him. But, man, when they say, okay, we're playing football today, we're going to play on TV, and we're going to play against an opponent, he shows up. He really, really shows up. And that's a credit to the kid for, you know, the way that he prepares, the way he takes care of himself. You know, Mike Zimmer, the way that he used him, and for him to play in a role of playing as a pass defender and not as a down the box guy, I think that says a lot about the kid. And hopefully he can continue to build on that, because they're going to need him. You know, this coverage stuff is going to be important. Yeah, you know, tackling is important, but being able to cover and being able to make plays on the ball is even more important in this defense.
Man, when they hired Mike Zimmer, one of the first things a lot of people turn to was the double A gap stuff with the linebackers. But the more I dive into Zimmer, I was like, wait, he is very creative with his schemes, and he is very reliant on his safeties. And if you look at his history, he has a lot of success with his safeties everywhere, from DeRoy Williams, from Darren Woodson early time here in Dallas to, you know, going all the way through Cincinnati and Minnesota. And I'm like, hey, y'all, I think this safety group is going to benefit from having Mike Zimmer here. And immediately, week 1 preseason, they get about 15 interceptions. And, you know, you got Julius Wood with a fantastic interception. He sees it. He breaks pick. You got, like you said, Marquise Bell should have had a couple picks. They called one back. The other undrafted free agent guy got a pick. Even Eric Scott, who was getting torched a little bit in that game, he drops back in zone because they play more zone now under Zimmer. He gets an interception, even though he's not a safety. But I think you're going to see these safeties really come up with a lot more interceptions this year because they'll play a lot more halves as opposed to asking a Jaron Curse to play in the center of the field and run sideline to sideline. I feel like if you're asking, Bell and Wanye and Dono and those guys to play just half a field and use your natural instincts and smarts and play within the scheme, these guys are going to make some plays for you, Bryan. I'm really excited about this group.
Yeah, and you're right. I think yesterday the breakdown, the metrics said it was 70% zone, 30% man is really when it kind of broke down to. So, yeah, Mike is going to play a lot more. Mike is really into playing sound football. Mike is not interested in being, there's some, it's not the exotics that we saw with Rob Ryan, but sometimes when you see exotics, you see breakdowns. You see bad plays. You see guys in bad coverage and put in bad situations. Mike will blitz, but Mike will be sound about the way that he blitzes and the way that he moves his guys around. So, yeah, I've been super impressed with what these. I'll tell you got to give Al Harris a lot of credit too so far. Al Harris has done a really nice job with this secondary. I've been super pleased with watching him coach. And when there is a mistake, which they have very, very rare busts on the practice field, Al's right there, Zimmer's right there. They're coaching it on the field. They're not waiting until, okay, let's get back to the meeting room and talk about this and get to the next play. I mean, they are immediately jumping on it and saying, hey, what did you see? Where was your alignment? What's wrong with your spacing right now? That kind of thing. So, Al's doing a great job of working with Mike and these defensive coaches to put this thing together.
Fantastic, Bryan. Hey, I appreciate you this morning jumping on here. You have been blessing the YouTube streets. You've been blessing the radio, and you've been holding it down on .com. I think you're the hardest working man right now doing this Cowboys thing, and we appreciate you, B.
Will, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure, and I apologize to you. I promise you I'll get my email thing fixed. And then you can see my proud Bryan face when I'm doing a show with you. How about that?
Let's do it. I'll reach out to you later today and see maybe we can set something up this week once the tape gets out, because
sounds good.
That's when the real good stuff goes, right? You watch the tape and we really
let us chop this tape up and kind of get an idea of who did what, and if we have some questions, I'm here now at the facility here, and so. If I have a question, I'll sure ask a coach, hey, I saw this, kind of tell me, walk me through it kind of a thing, or we'll grab a player or two and kind of learn what we're doing. But as always, it is a pleasure to be with you, and I really have a lot of respect for the work you do. I love your channel, and I really appreciate you giving me an opportunity to be in front of your fan base. They're a good group of folks, guys and gals, and we'll do it again here real soon, okay?
Thank you, my man. Bryan Broaddus, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hey, that was fantastic. A lot of little nuggets there from our guy, our scout, Bryan Broaddus. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, reset. I want to hear from you guys. 351-999-3787. I will take a few calls here just to get the pulse of the nation from yesterday. I know a lot of y'all got a lot to say about a particular player, but like I said at the top of me and Broaddus's breakdown here, this is a land of opportunity for a lot of these young players. So we didn't hit on everybody in depth. So if you guys want to talk about a few of these other players, you are more than welcome to jump in.
You're listening to A to Z Sports.
Do it live!
At some point, hoping to broadcast
In front of the millions
of Cowboys fans to bring you the real. But for now, strap up and
Reach for the sky.
here's your host, Skywalker Steele.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. Man, I'm excited, man. Watching the game yesterday, it was the first game I had a chance to watch with Enzo, my youngest, although he didn't do a whole lot of watching. Just taking notes. I just felt back into the swing of real football. Now, that wasn't real football, right? But it was real football, if that makes sense. But then it hit me real fast. Damn it, this is preseason football, and it's not clean. It's not as fun, but you kind of gotta sift through some things to enjoy, and I did. Even though it was not the greatest of games, the greatest of preseason games. I mean, you get 4 interceptions, that was wonderful, but you don't score a touchdown from the 4 interceptions. That was not. Run game wasn't there. Pass game hit and miss. It wasn't exciting from just kind of the overall eye. However, lots to take away from it. Me and Broaddus got into a whole lot of it. And what I want to do is then get some of it with you guys, Cowboys Nation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and mute this because we got a couple callers here on the line. We'll go, like I said, we'll go with a few callers here. And hear just kind of your thoughts on this. If you got questions, we'll obviously answer them. So let's hit 404. You are first. What's good, 404? Good morning.
What's going on, Will? This is Doug here. Called in a couple times before. Still a big fan of your work, my man.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, man. What's on your mind?
Not much. Mazi. Of course, Mazi. I'm of the other side. I think the scrutiny Mazi get is a little overblown. I think people just don't understand the position and what is really asked of him, and especially the regime change, what's going to be asked of him in this regime. I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah.
My worry is the other 3 tech, Osa. Osa's already light, and they're going to ask him take on doubles, take on squarely, blocks, eat up space, and that's not who Osa is. And you kind of see the Cowboys thinking that way too, because who do they bring in? A big size 3 tech, not a 1, but a big size 3 tech. And you already know with Zimmer's history, what does he like with the big Williams? 2 big defensive tackles eating up space down there. So I'm worried about Osa more than Mazi in the system.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot there. Let's break it down. Let's peel this back here, because I don't totally disagree with the Osa concern, because I've been championing that, hey, Osa is not necessarily a Mike Zimmer fit, historically speaking. But at the end of the day, Osa is a much better player than Mazi Smith. He's a much more mature, nuanced, technical. And he may not be as strong, but he knows how to use his leverage better. I'm a bit shocked you said you're more worried about it than Mazi, because Mazi, while yes, he has the physique and the strength, he's still learning how to use his leverage. I still see him get on 1 foot. And you did see some improvement, sure. But Osa's a better player. And until Mazi shows me consistently he's better than Osa, that's where I would disagree. I'm more worried about Mazi because, we have to see it. With Osa, we've seen Osa, maybe not down and down out, but we've seen Osa do the things that they're going to ask him to do. The difference to me is he's going to be asked to do it more. So when you say they feel the same way by bringing in a Huggins, listen, sir, Huggins been on 11 teams and he didn't look good out there. So I don't think that really has much to do with Osa. I think it has more to do with the room not having guys to help out at Osa.
So again, I think it's the way we're looking at the position. Osa is good at getting upfield. It's getting upfield, not necessarily gap filling, but a penetrating 3 tech, a la Aaron Donald, a very, very poor man's Aaron Donald.
That's his strength. But I've seen him do other things. I've seen him do other things as well. I've seen him do what they're going to ask him to do. I don't think the issue is can he do it. I think the issue is if you're going to ask him to do it more, he can't play as much, and or you need to have guys to rotate in with him because we've seen him wear down. I actually think he can handle the things that they're asking Mazi to do better, but maybe not as much because he's not built to do that down in, down out. But it sounds like to me you're saying he just doesn't fit at all and he's going to be a problem.
No. I think he's going to be. I think the worry should be more about Osa. I think he might be all right, but again, he's already light. He's not really even Zimmer's type of 3 tech.
Correct.
So he's already light.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're going to they're asking their tackles to eat up space, to create lanes for the linebackers in it. They're not asking them to pass rush. They're not asking them to run stuff. They're not asking none of that. They're asking them to take up space to make up lanes for the linebackers. And I don't know if Osa is that type of player. And I think that when we see this new regime change, we gotta start recalibrating what we thought of players and how they were, and start think of how they fit necessarily and what they're going to be asked to do this time or with this regime. And
100%.
I think Osa's one of those players.
100%. Osa is one to watch in this scheme for sure. Been talking about that since they hired Mike Zimmer. Indeed. All right, man.
And then last thing.
Oh yeah. Quickly. Go ahead.
No. Do your thing. I'm gonna be listening, man. I'll call back again and talk to you, man. You take care.
Thank you, man.
The conference has been locked.
Good call. Let's keep it moving. We got lots of callers here. I just locked it up so we can get through everybody today. Keystone, what's up with you, dog?
Hey, what's going on, Sky? 7-1. Let's get it.
Turn you down a little bit here. What's up with you, dog? How you doing?
I've been good, man. To me, one day at a time, sitting back watching these games, and I was seeing some things that I would consider me nasty work. First, I'm going to start off the game killer when Butler got caught for that defensive holding, and that pick was going to Emmanuel Johnson. I was at work, man. I was going ballistic. I'm thinking he had the game killer, and you know that's one of my guys that I was talking about going into preseason.
He's the boy that had.
My feelings was
he's the boy that has 17 block kicks, right?
Yeah, he the one that had all those block kicks in college, and he would have sealed the deal with the fifth pick.
He would have.
When they got caught for that defensive holding, man, that was some nasty work. I was at work losing my mind. I said, no, you did not take that from my boy. I said, no. But it's all right, though, because so far overall the game, I like the way Cooper BB looked. He looked okay. You know what I'm saying? He will get better. Because one thing about Cooper is he's a fast learner. He catches all this stuff real fast.
Yeah. Go ahead. Let me know what else is on your mind because I gotta keep it moving. The noise on your phone is a bit rough. Yeah. The noise on your phone is a bit rough. And we got some more callers. So my bad.
Go ahead. Now you good. Let them eat. I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. That's Keystone, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get 919 up in here. What's good with you? $919, you live?
Oh, yeah, my fault, man.
All good.
What's up, bro? Like, I was just thinking about the game, and I'm like, man, Marquise, like, I ain't going home. Marquise trying to make this 53.
Marquise Bell?
Julius Wood came in, and I think a lot of people are trying to put Wanye over Dono just really due to his size and athleticism overall. But Julius Wood, looking at him like, we about the same size. And I can do the same things where he came in the game. I'm like, it's just that defense is flying around with a certain type of energy. That's just the main part. The wide receivers, I feel like they should have got T. Billy some looks. Because he made plays on kick return, and I feel like Cropper won't really Cropper won't really doing it on offense. Like he had the bobble, he almost had the fumble, like. It won't really – I feel like T. Billy could have got some more looks. Kelvin Harmon, them 2 catches were good. And I just feel like it's going to be it's going to be some surprise picks as far as that 53 goes and who get released. I think we're going to probably have a couple of trades, like as far as it might be for like a 7th-round pick or even another position. But we got some talent, man, like, and they're just competing. But that defense, them DBs, there's going to be some surprise picks. But no, that's all I got to say, man.
All right, man. Good call there. Yeah, by the way, I didn't get a chance to really do a roundup, but if I did, I would have talked about the trade that they already made. The Cowboys brought in Booth from Clemson, but he's from Minnesota. He came out of Clemson. They traded Nahshon Wright, and we talked about Nahshon Wright pretty much just seemed to be done here in Dallas. So kudos to them for flipping him. This feels a little bit like flipping Boss Man Fat for Noah Igbenogany. Noah was a former 1st-round pick. Booth is a former 2nd-round pick. I feel like there's a little bit better tape, though, for Booth. Granted, not a lot. He didn't have a whole lot of snaps, But where you saw a lot of some good and some bad when it came to Noah Igbenogany, and now he's gone. We'll see how this plays out. I do think Booth is a better player than Nahshon Wright, a better fit. We'll see if he sticks around. As for a lot of these players, down roster guys, yeah, man, it's compete time, right? We talked about, he brought up Tyron Billy Johnson and Jalen Moreno Cropper. This was the battle that I'm looking at, going to this game, but it's tough when you are playing with the backup quarterbacks, backup offensive line. It is really hard to go out there and make plays because you're relying on, let's be honest, guys who aren't that good getting you the ball or blocking it up. And you saw that a little bit with, I think it was who got loose? Not Durden. Who's number 14? Number 14 got loose. He got loose deep, wide open for a touchdown. You seem to be down on Jalen Moreno Cropper, but Jalen Moreno Cropper is one of the guys who can get separation on his team, and he got really good separation in the red zone. And it's a play. Broaddus, we were talking about it. You've seen Cooper Rush make. You've seen Dak Prescott almost perfect that damn play. I don't know if there was a quarterback in the league that did the corner route in the end zone better than Dak Prescott last year. And Trey just missed him. I mean, that is considered wide open in the National Football League. And so I didn't think Cropper was bad in that game. I thought Cropper, he had some moments where it bobbled the ball or whatnot. Tyron Billy Johnson, I mean, what can he do? All he can go out there do is run his route and hope that somebody throws him the rock, So it's tough. It's really tough to get a gauge on these guys in preseason. We knew that would be the case. That's why when you have the opportunity, UC4 is the quarterback. I said this to y'all before. If I'm Billy Johnson, if I'm Cropper, if I'm Durden, if I'm whoever fighting for this roster, I'm hiding somebody's helmet. I'm untying somebody's cleats. Oh, I got this rep. You good? Go, I got this. I want those reps with Dak. Because if I can get those reps with Dak in practice, Dak's going to go back. He's going to talk to coach. And he's going to say, hey, that's my Dennis Houston. Let me ask you something. What the hell did Dennis Houston do in the preseason? Nothing. He wasn't extremely impressive in preseason. He really barely was impressive to me in camp. But Dennis Houston gained the trust of Dak Prescott. So while, yes, you want these guys to make plays in preseason because that's going to help, when it's Trey throwing you the ball, when it's Cooper Rush throwing you the ball, it's going to be tough. So you're going to have to take advantage of it in practice as well as preseason. All right. As far as the safety room, man, goodness gracious, 180. Over the years, we have been talking about how the Cowboys have been poor in bringing in safeties and having to go out and sign one-year deals and things. Now we have an abundance of them. And what I don't want to do is put one player down to bring another player up. I'm not going to do that. Your top 4 safeties are quality. They ain't going nowhere. Okay. But Julius Wood made a play. Imani Johnson, boom, bobble pick right in his hand, right? Or tip ball pick right in his hand. You want to see these guys compete like that and push to make the roster. And if not make the roster, at least, hopefully go through waivers and make the practice squad. But let's not diminish the 4 safeties you do have on this roster, man. I think in this scheme, those guys are fantastic fits. So I'm not really, it's the top 4. They're solidified. Everybody else is going to have to work their way, in my opinion, to make this roster. And good start, right? Good start. And man, Wood just looks the part. Julius Wood looks the part. We know based off the film in college, he can fly around, make plays, and he just fits. I would love for him to add on to it. Remember what happened with Israel McQuamo years ago? He 3 picks in the preseason, makes the team. And eventually he had to play a little bit because of injuries. I don't think that's going to be the case with Wood, but I would love to at least keep him on this team to develop and gain some experience, even if it's a redshirt year. Because moving forward, one of those guys in regards to Dono and Malik, I don't think it's going to be here long term. Long term meaning this might be their last year. They might look to save a couple dollars moving forward, because if you're going to complain about having cap dollars and all that, and you have an abundance of talent in a specific room where I don't think there's much of a drop off, I look at that room and say, well, can I save money here via trade, via June 1st? You're going to be able to save money in that safety room. You will. Because you got guys behind him I think can step up and do the job just as well at minimum, in my opinion. So, love the safety room. All right, last one here, and I wrapped y'all in the chat. And of course, it's Maserati Marv. What's good with you, MJ?
What up, family? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Did you go to the game?
Nah, I watched it. I was
Okay.
working, but I watched the game. It was a good game. I watched that. The key I was looking at, like me and you, the offensive line and D tackles.
Yeah.
And I told you, I like that kid, man. He can't move him. Number 96. Just get another big young veteran. in there with him.
Rogers. Yeah, Rogers put on. He had a couple good reps there. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's what you want. That's what you need. Get one more guy, like y'all say, a veteran, to go in that middle with him and Mazi and all them. That'll do it.
I tell you what, about Rogers, and I can't wait to go back and watch the film on it. He just feels more natural from a technique standpoint than Mazi right now, which is weird because Mazi in Michigan, you saw him do these things, but I wonder how much last year just messed him up because he was extremely sloppy last year. But you saw him, or you're seeing Mazi kind of grow in that sense. But Rogers, he looks, it's the same. I talked about this with Brandon Aubrey, right, on Twitter. Brandon Aubrey has the smoothest motion I've ever seen from a Cowboys kicker because it looks the same. Where Rogers, it looks the same. Is it always going to result in a positive play? No. But the more he's out there, the more nuance, the more experience, he can be looked at as a guy as I don't have to worry about him not playing square. I don't have to worry about him doing his job per se. I got to worry about him maybe going off script, where we're trying to get Mazi to that point of consistency, right?
Yeah, and guess what I said? You're a cracker. So I was at the practice on Friday, and Z was out there teaching him. He was on Mazi going. So I passed by. I said, guys, Coach Z, now don't listen to all these boneheads out here. The big guy, Rogers, played for Memphis, played for Auburn. Mm-hmm. He used to play in a pro NFL style because he's playing against the SEC. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All good players. He used to it. You're not moving him. So please don't favoritism. If he beat them out, he should be starting. We don't want to do this, man. Stop doing it. You know what I'm saying? Stop playing around.
I'll tell you right now, that ain't happening, bro. But I feel you.
I know.
They're going to give Mazi Smith every opportunity to not be the guy. So if he goes out there and he's a liability, then he'll be gone. Because I don't think Zim and Skanina are going to care about what the front office is saying about a first round pick. But right now,
I know.
Right now, that does hold weight.
That's okay. I'm gonna give him credit. He's trying. But that guy Rogers, I keep telling everybody, you got you one. Don't mess the F word. Don't this thing up. If you think you could, I'm gonna tell you something, and you know I'm not lying. If you try to tell about we're gonna sneak Rogers on the practice squad, you're a fool.
Well, he's
not
a pick.
making no practice.
He's a pick. They hardly cut their pick, so I don't think that's the case. But like you said at the top, and I don't want this to go by the wayside because I don't care how much you like Rogers or any of these young guys. They need to bring in another veteran. They got to bring a veteran. Yeah, you can't rely on these dudes down in, down out. In my opinion, you need to bring in a vet.
They need to make two veterans. Bring in the big Minnesota guy that used to play for him, 340.
Talking about Joseph.
With Mazi and all them. Then number 91 from Indy. What's the guy 91? The defensive end.
Are you talking about dude that used to play for the Niners?
No, what's the guy that used to play for the? He's out there now.
Oh, Yannick Ngakoue?
Yes, bring him in. Them two.
Yeah, man. If you're looking for a pass rusher, Ngakoue is your guy. Yeah.
Thank you. You can see it. I can see. I hope they're listening to your show. Don't be stupid. You got a chance to have one of the best defenses finally ever. And then in the offense, I'm telling you, man, I don't care what y'all say. That number 60 gonna be an all-pro. He cold-blooded, man.
Man,
He's cold.
I like Guyton only played a couple series, and I don't think you're going to see a whole lot more of him because of Chume Doga, and they can't really afford for him to go down. But yeah, he's made leaps, and he's ready to compete. Like I said to Bryan, I think down in, down out, and I hope who the Cowboys play next. Raiders.
They play Oakland.
I don't know if Mac's going to be out there. Whoever, if he is out there the rest of the preseason, I would love to see them throw out some of their top pass rushers at Tyler Guyton. I really want to see, okay, if he loses a rep, his bounce back, how he adjusts to the said player. Because one thing I did pick up when he was talking to the reporters last week, he said, or they asked him, hey, are you studying these players? And he's like, yeah. And I know it's preseason, it sounds silly, but I mean, you got to prep, right? And you got to start figuring out how to prep in the National Football League. So I would love for them to throw out some real pass rushes at him and see if his study pays off from, okay, he likes to rush on third down out and then cut inside. Well, maybe I can counter with this and that. So it'll be awesome to see that because I thought he did great yesterday against the backups.
He did great. And then, like I was saying, two more people. Richards is going to be a stud. And number 56, I'm going to tell y'all right now, I know y'all like 57. No.
Hey, you got to start saying names, bro. Who does 56 and 57, dog? What are you talking about?
BB is going to take that spot.
Oh, okay. I thought you were back on defense. So you're talking about Cooper Beebe. Gotcha. Who's 57?
Yeah. The guard. Is it 60? What's his number? 67?
Oh, 67. You talking about not Cooper, but Brock Hoffman. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, he's gonna take his spot. I can see it. It's coming, y'all. You can't move the guy. They was trying everything to try to he's just so strong, man.
He's a strong dude.
They was trying everything that BB's not happy. Hey, we got a good future. But the quarterback, he need a lot of practice, bro.
Yeah, let me end the show.
How long you been in the NFL? 4 years?
This is his 4th year. Let me end the show on my thoughts on Trey.
Oh, my God.
Hey, appreciate the call, Marv.
Thank you, family.
Yes, sir.
Good show. And how about them Cowboys?
How about them? Salute.
Salute.
Man, so good stuff today. And yesterday was exciting. I ain't gonna lie to you to get Trey out there and get some reps because that was the first time he's played in live action games since 2022. And honestly, it looked like it looked for him in camp. You know, now I'm not down there to see it down in, down out, but again, I don't come on here without doing thorough research, talking to people, etc. And I've been telling you guys this here. I don't always tweet my thoughts out, but I did yesterday before the game where I said, okay, preseason for Trey, this is where spread his wings from an athletic standpoint. Run around, make plays, use his feet, right? Make some throws on the move. He's not going to be able to win this QB2 battle by just dropping back in training camp. Ain't gonna happen. And a lot what Bryan was talking about yesterday, or today, this morning about what he played, how he played yesterday, I echo. You saw even when he was completing passes, things were just hard for these wide receivers. You know, shouts out to Harmon making some crazy grabs. Who was it? Cropper. I mean, he had to snag one way behind him. And then no shouts out to Racy McMath not mathing. Flournoy dropped one too, but man, Racy McMath dropped back-to-back passes there. One would have been a first down. Lots of overthrows. I mean, everything was high or fastball. There's no touch to Trey's game. And for a lot of people who, just want to poo-poo and blame Shanahan and things like that, y'all, these are the same things that were happening there. Same thing. Now, there's things behind the scenes that are obviously aren't going to happen here in Dallas that were happening in San Fran, but just from an actual on-the-field standpoint, these are the very similar things. Struggling with accuracy, timing, anticipation, things like that. It's why in my tweet, I was like, hey, in this next possession, I kind of would like to see them go to the RPO game just to get Trey going. And I think some people took that as me saying go to the read option game. You know, that's not what I mean. What I mean by RPO, literally run or throw it. Run, pass, option. Stick the ball in the running back's belly, hand it off, pull it out, throw it. Read option is a different story, you know, where, okay, he's going to run out the running back, pull it, or he's going to run it. That's what I'm talking about. We know Trey can run. But I wanted to see Trey kind of get in the rhythm, and you didn't really see it till a little bit late. And I went back and watched, and even in that late series where he was kind of getting in quote unquote rhythm, boy, those balls were high, and it wasn't as smooth as I had thought initially watching, but it was his best drive. It was his best drive of the game, and he needed that from a what to do standpoint. That was tape to build off of. The one play I wish he would have pulled the trigger on, and it was tough to see from a broadcast view, but I did go back and watch the all 22 view of it. 3rd and 10, they ran the same play to Ryan Flournoy that they ran on 1st and 10 where he dropped the ball, right? Quick slant, and Trey's in the shotgun. They go a 1-by-3 formation from left to right. Flournoy puts on a great route. Turns around his cornerback. I mean, he had the cornerback on skates, and he's open. Trey watches him, and I think he hesitates because of the safety, but going back and watching again from the all-22 view, put the ball on him and let Flournoy either absorb a hit or Flournoy make a play after the catch. And for whatever reason, he didn't pull the trigger, pulls it down, dumps it off, or tries to dump it off to Malik Davis. Incomplete pass. They have to kick the field goal. Those two plays to me, that one, when I say two, I mean the 4th and 1 and that play, you want to see him in this next game execute those. Because I'm not going to come on here and I'm not going to feed into these people that were talking about Trey Lance being QB1, QB of the future. Stop. Stop it. Stop trying to put this man in a box that he's not currently at and has a long way to go to get there. We talked about baby steps with this kid. We talked about just small wins. That's where you really should be focusing on if you're rooting for this guy to take over somebody's team. Because QB1 in 2024, 2025, it's not happening. And if it happens in 2025, this front office is goofy. Okay? So you just want to see Trey. And if I'm them, I get Trey moving more to get him in a rhythm early. And I don't know if in 2 games you're going to see accuracy improve. I don't know if in 2 games you're going to see deep ball improve. He is what he is at this point. But you want to see him at least hit one of those or 2 of those this preseason to have some confidence moving forward. But if you had to give a letter grade to Trey yesterday, and again, it's preseason, it's week 1. He's not going to be out there with all the guys. I'd give it a C-. Had a handful of plays, moving, athletic ability that I liked. He hit John Stevens Jr. rolling out. I think David Durden one rolling out. But there were too many just kind of routine plays and misses that dragged that grade down to a C- for me. And that's just the truth, man. I told y'all what I want. I want this dude to go out there and go crazy. Because then you have a chip that you can do one or 2 things with. You can trade it while it's hot, or you have an upgrade at quarterback too. And a lot of people are already going to say Lance over Rush in general. Sure, if you want a more athletic guy, run around, do some slasher things with, absolutely. But if you need a guy to execute the game plan, there's no way you believe that Trey's the guy to do that right now. And I said this before. Shanahan came out and said we essentially had to alter our offense for him. This is a guy that don't like to do that. This is a guy that likes the quarterback to be able to execute his offense because it's tried and true. I'm noticing that they're probably going to have to alter some things in this offense for Trey to be successful. And that's a lot more moving the pocket. That's a lot more letting him run around. That's a lot more slash than it is quarterbacking for Trey as we speak. So, hey, man, facts are facts. If you don't like it, that's fine. But but don't sit here and try to lie to our face about what he is at this moment. Still got a lot of room to grow here. He needs all these snaps. He got almost all of them. And you're just hoping to see small baby steps this preseason. But yesterday was a rocky start. A couple good plays, but we'll see where he improves, moving forward. And Special K says here that wasn't a Trey Lance game plan. And see, that's the problem, right? Is that with Coop, we always heard this, right? Coach McCarthy said, well, I don't have to change up the plan that much because Dak he can drop back and throw the ball. Coop is a drop back and throw the ball, right? These guys aren't going to run around and do a lot. Now, Dak can make plays on the run. That's one of the things that makes him, in my opinion, one of the better quarterbacks. He's not going to be Lamar Jackson, but he can obviously make plays outside the pocket. I think you're going to have to change up a lot of what you want to do as we sit here August 12th, if 19 is your quarterback moving forward. You just are. It's going to have to turn into more of an RPO, more of a one read and take off type of situation, because consistently asking him to make those anticipatory throws and fitting it in the window and giving your wide receivers, opportunities after the catch. We are a ways away from that right now with Trey. A ways away. Come on, Tyson. He said a Trey Lance game plan is on the bench. Taco says, oh boy, let him cook. Okay. Trey's mobility will open up his reads. What do you mean by that? I don't know that. What do you mean his mobility will open up his reads? Your reads are your reads. What his mobility could do is allow him to extend plays and make plays. And that was maybe the only disappointing thing from, not the only thing, let me say, the disappointing thing about his mobility yesterday is that I was hoping to pop one of those big plays, scrambling around, pow. Let's see it happen next week. Trey Lance, what we say about Jalen Hurts or RB2? Look, I know I'll be joking around on Twitter about this thing, but I'm dead serious. If this thing don't work out for him at quarterback, which we'll see. The dude's an athlete. He's 6'4". Is he legitimately 6'4"? I'm telling you, man. I don't know if he can catch. I don't know how physical he is, if he wants to be physical in the run game or whatnot. I'm not even looking at tight end because I don't think that's probably equipped for him. But receiver, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but he can scoot. I'm just saying. And if he's going to carry a roster spot on this team, somebody said this real quick and I'm going to be done. I'm going to be done with this. Somebody said this on Twitter. I'm sorry, I don't know who it was, but I thought it was a fascinating thought. Can you designate him a different position? Hypothetically here. Let's go hypothetical. Can you designate Trey a wide receiver on the roster, but he's your emergency quarterback? In the sense of he's on the roster, he's active game day, so you can use him in RPO situations, red zone, if they don't want to, sacrifice Dak's body, because it's not hard to RPO roll out, dump it off to a damn tight end. I mean, that's not difficult to do. Doesn't ask for you a lot. And if it's not there, run and take off, right? If they don't want to sacrifice Dak's body, throw Trey in there. So you got you a quarterback 3, you got you an RPO wildcat guy, et cetera, et cetera. So you're not really wasting the roster spot. I thought it was an interesting thought. That's all I'm saying. If this quarterback thing don't work out and he's going to be on this roster and you don't want him to be emergency guy, put his ass out there. See if he can catch. That's all I'm saying. Somebody said this on Twitter. I thought it was interesting. But from a quarterback thing, we a long ways to go, Cowboys Nation. Step one. This was step one. for Trey Lance. Step 2 is you want to see him make some improvements on the things that he was not very good at yesterday. Yeah, Terrell Pryor is the comp for me. I mean, if it don't work out at quarterback, Terrell Pryor showed you it can happen, but Terrell Pryor didn't have it up here. Trey is a very hardworking, upstanding citizen. Terrell was wild. He's a wild boy. So I'm telling you, man, if I'm Trey, I'm not going to play quarterback in the USFL. Nah, dog. Appreciate my guy Matt Lennox drop 5
super chat.
And he said, great stuff with Broaddus. I saw Al, I'm going to call him AQ. Muhammad flashed a little bit, came off the line, well, pushed guys in the QB a few times. Aisha saw it also. Between Al and the dude that came from Washington, I feel like he has the upper hand in this scheme. Now, the Washington kid got some pop to him, some flash to him. He's a super athletic guy. But AQ has been in this league and has had success in this league, and he's a bigger body. Cowboys don't have a lot of depth. Unless they go out and get more defensive ends, I think this dude is favored to make the team. Toxic, you ain't got to tell me, brother. I think he is what he is, but he's here on the Cowboys, so I'm just looking for improvements because he's with the Cowboys. If he was with any other team, I wouldn't be talking about quarterback 3. Not at all. Y'all beating up on Jay Recruiter? What did he say? I'm just curious, man. What did he say? He said, you can't tell me that Taysom Hill's a better passer than Trey. I mean, I guess you can't because you ain't seen Trey Lance do much good passing the rock just yet. I mean, so I guess we don't have enough data to say it, but you can't tell me that Trey's a better passer than Taysom yet because we ain't seen it. I'm going to leave it at that, man. Great stuff today. Appreciate y'all for jumping in as Broaddus joined us. If you missed it, I might cut that whole Broaddus one up and just drop it as its own thing. I appreciate B for coming through. We were supposed to have B on video, but he's having issues down there, and it's tough. It's really tough to get service down there sometimes, depending on the day. But he was having issues with his computer. He couldn't even go on 105 through the fan because of it. But from a video standpoint, but we'll get B back either this week or next week. And we'll talk about more of what he saw on film. In the meantime, in between time, we'll probably have more guests on this week. And we'll definitely have Pat on, but we'll see about other guests as well. It's a lot to discuss. As soon as I'm done with this show, firing up the tape, we're going to watch a little bit more. And tomorrow we'll come back. We'll hear more from you guys. I'll give you more of what I saw on film, some Skywalker standouts. And it'll be fun. This is a fun week because it'll feel kind of like a normal week for the season, but we're not going to study the opposing teams. Now, we're going to focus on our own. No practice today for the Cowboys. They'll probably be back tomorrow, and we'll obviously keep up with training camp as well. All right. With that said, go ahead and press this button and get up out of here.
Push the goddamn button.
Push the goddamn button.
Appreciate you, Bomb Squad, for coming through. You guys are fantastic. Good calls today. Thanks for the supers. The chat was active. B was amazing. Y'all the best, man. Yeah, we got some things got to work on, Luis. Be all right, though. We out here. Love y'all. Peace.
Bomb Squad!